Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, depending on what time you're watching this. We at Stevens Magic are very excited about providing you with another equally exciting breakthrough in magic technology. Today we have a very unique effect. Not so much unique in the history, but in the origins and the reconstruction. All of us are familiar with the three-shell game, one of my personal favorites when I was younger. We have an individual today who has worked the three-shell game for 9 years consistently. When I say worked, I do mean work in the true sense of the word. I'm not talking about practicing behind the scenes. This is full-time exposure. You know, many years ago when I asked Ted Leslie, what's the best way that I can prove myself to be a performer, his only answer was short and sweet. Perform every opportunity you have. And I know for a fact that the gentleman I'm about to introduce has done just that, because I've seen it many times. His name is Ed Parrish. He's otherwise known as Roscoe the Magician, and he has come out with a very unique application to the three-shell game. These three shells are called the Smoky Mountain Shagbark's shells from the School for Scoundrels. The School for Scoundrels is a name we're all familiar with. But what he has done is, after performing this for 9 years, 5 years into that, he started to think about what can we do to increase the quality of this effect. What can we do to change the structure, the design? As any true professional does when they hone something they're good at, he took it, he analyzed it, and he came up with these very unique set of shells. And I'd like to take this opportunity, before I do so, I'm going to introduce Ed, but before I do so, I would like to say how honored and privileged we are, and thanks to Ed and the School for Scoundrels for giving Stevens Magic Emporium the exclusive distribution rights for this fine effect. And at this very moment in time, I'd like to introduce my very good friend and professional magician, Mr. Ed Harris, also known as Roscoe from Biloxi, I believe?
Yeah, the notorious Roscoe from Biloxi.
The notorious Roscoe from Biloxi.
Thank you very much, Mark. I appreciate it. And these Smoky Mountain Shagbarks this is actually the third generation of this shell. After I first carved the first one out of beeswax and cast it myself, I then made a second version after I got some advice from Whit Hayden and from some of the other magicians at the School for Scoundrels. We honed that over the years, and after a couple of years of working with that shell, I finally came up with this one, which I once again sculpted out of wax, and then I sent the mold to California, and it is now being cast in the United States out of urethane. This shell is completely indestructible unless you take a sledgehammer to it. This thing will last you for a lifetime. You can carry these shells in your pockets and perform anytime you want to on any surface, to include glass.
Wow.
And with the School for Scoundrels Perfect P, which is what I designed this shell around, it works great. This is just a lot of fun for me. I've been doing it for a long time on the streets, and it is the one act that draws people to my table for my magic act on the streets.
So you would do this as an introduction to get people in?
I do it as an introduction, but it is an act in itself.
That's true.
And the people just love it. There's something about a game that draws people in. If you're doing the cups and balls, it's a magic trick.
Good point.
And generally I do a magic trick. I do the cups and balls right after this. But I keep them, I get them there and hook them and get the people right around the table with 6 minutes of doing this trick right here.
Wow, interesting. Now let's talk about the School for Scoundrels, because we need to maybe clarify a little bit about what that means. We don't want people to think that we just took the ideas. I believe, in fact I'm sure, that you've been in constant communications with Whit Hayden.
Whit Hayden has been my mentor. He has been a good friend, and he has been right in the middle of this ever since I got started on the idea. And we've worked together on this for a long, long time. Whit knows more about the shell game than anybody in the world. He has taught more people how to do the shell game through his videos and through his books than anybody in history. And the guy knows what he's talking about, and he's the one who taught me how to do this.
And we have his full blessing to go ahead and continue with this.
Yes.
You recently performed with him. And
I did.
I don't mean to plug you, but wasn't that at the Magic Castle?
Oh, please do plug me in. Yeah. Yes, I had the great privilege of working with Whit Hayden at the Magic Castle, and it was just an amazing experience. He is a wonderful gentleman and a fantastic performer.
Fantastic. Let's talk just a little bit about the shells. Let's talk about what makes them different. First of all, they're indestructible. That's great. They don't need to be protected. I do notice that they are a little shorter and not as long as some of the other shells. Tell me, is that going to affect the acrobatics of the pea? Is there any negative? Because some people might be concerned about that.
It definitely affects the acrobatics of the pea. It turns it into a real acrobat. Because these shells are 3/4 the length of the School for Scoundrels shell. That means that if you have this pea at the front of your shell and you need to get it out by pushing forward on the shell, it's a much shorter throw than with any other shell. And that's one of the things we like about it. I can get that pea out anytime I want to. Also, you'll notice that the shell, if you look at it right now, you'll see that it's kind of concave toward the bottom right there. And the reason for that is that it eats the pea from any direction. If I need to get that pea under the shell, I can move it in from any direction like this.
Fascinating. So not necessarily from the back, any direction. Fantastic.
And I can take it out, put it back in.
Now this also has the famous, and forgive me from my terminology, the dip.
It has the Shannon dip, okay, which is a very slight incline up toward the back of the shell, and it has a little notch, a very tiny little notch. The whole point of that is so that it makes it easier for you to get the perfect pea out from under the shell. You can even have a spectator put a finger on top of the shell if you want to. Get that pea out from under and they will never know that it was gone.
Wow. So I can see two reasons right off the bat why you decided to go back to the engineering board and redesign. Tell me some more reasons why these shells are beneficial to some people. You mentioned it's something to do with dry skin.
I myself have dry hands. I cannot work the other kinds of shells any other kind of shell that I've ever tried with complete security. That's why I made the first ones with a very rough edges and very rough surface.
That's true.
It makes it really easy for me to get hold of them using any grip that I need to use. I can pick up all three of these shells between my fingers, and they stay right where they belong. I can put the pea under this shell right here. I can move it any way I want to, and the pea moves to any shell I want it to.
Fantastic. So you've got that benefit with dry skin. It would also come into play with people that don't have large hands or fingers.
Oh yes, yeah. These are smaller shells in all respects, and so even though I have fairly large hands, they're a big advantage to me as well.
Fantastic. So it took you 2 prototypes, and finally now, with the blessings of the School for Scoundrels and with your perfection, because I remember you were very detailed and very specific about the prototypes, you're confident this set is definitely something that people will be entertaining and be proud of.
I perform only with this kind of shell, and I've been doing this shell game for a long time.
Yes, you have, that's for sure. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. We hope you'll appreciate the information that Ed provided. Of course, if you have any questions that we didn't answer, you know we're always here for you, 24/7, whether it be email or by direct phone call. But thanks for tuning in for Stevens Magic, and we hope you'll also check out, if you haven't already, the video demonstration of the effect.